Well, the Alleghany Journal is delighted today to speak with school board member John Littleton. John's been a member of the school board for a while now and is well known in the community as part of the group of seven in this new school division. Welcome, John.
Good morning.
Well, before we get to the three required questions here, how about telling the public a little bit about John Littleton?
Yes, I was raised and born here in Alleghany County in the Falling Springs area. I went to elementary school at Falling Springs Elementary and then continued on to Alleghany High School, where in high school I was very active in sports and football and in track. And I also was very active in the fire and EMS perspective of the county at that time in my life. I was a firefighter one, an EMT. That was a big driving part of my life during my younger years. Then after that, I went on to college, went to West Virginia Tech, where I got my bachelor's in science in civil engineering. I came back home to the Alleghany Highlands, where I've now raised a family. I run a business construction company, which I do water treatment and wastewater treatment across the state of Virginia. And my family is very dear to me. My mother was an educator here in the Highlands for over 20 years. My grandmother was an educator here in the Highlands for over 30 years. My great grandmother was had one of the first day schools in Covington, Lillian Klingen. And my brother is actually an educator now, currently at Williamsburg County. He's a middle school principal. So education is very dear to me. What started this whole thing for me was actually one weekend my brother was in. We were talking about education and where things were going. And he told me, said, well, you need to try to make a difference. And I told him, yeah, I would like to try. And he said, well, you ought to probably get on the school board. And I thought, well, that's not a bad idea. And just 2 days later after that, I seen an ad in the paper looking for someone to represent the Falling Springs district for the Alleghany County School Board. At that time, I applied and got the position. I kind of felt like there was a greater power speaking to me that all this happened in this kind of quick way. I feel with the school board, since currently I've been on it since right before the pandemic, which I will say was a great time to get on the school board with everything that was happening, but I've learned a lot along the way. I'm very proud to say that I think I'm a great asset for the area, for that my son is special needs. He's nonverbal autistic, so special education is very dear to my heart. I try to help as many parents as I can, try to get for their children what they deserve and what they need. As far as special education goes. Also, too, with my contracting experience and my engineering experience, I feel that I'm a great asset to the school system with projects going on, capital improvements. And I'm very proud to say that I've hopefully saved the school system close to $1 million with capital improvement projects since I've been on. And that wraps me up in a nutshell, Jerry.
Well, John, that's a great summary. You're the go-to guy when various staff members have an engineering question. So I guess the school board, to some degree, has gotten a little engineering expertise here as an added plus, which is really nice. And we have three standard questions, and I believe that all candidates will answer these as to your best of your ability. And the first one has to do with two-way communication between school boards and parents. And how important do you believe the feedback is from parents in managing a school division?
It is extremely important, Jerry. I wish more parents would reach out and let us know what they like, what they dislike. Parents need to be very involved in their children's education. Statistically showing parents that are more active in their children's education, the children will excel better with their education, excel more with life. Parents need to try to be as active in their children's education, and also parent-teacher conferences, extracurricular activities, athletics. All of these things help mold a child to strive to be the best they can. And I think that parents being very active in their child's education is extremely important.
John, across the state and specifically here as well, uh, a school board has to make these critical hiring decisions, and teacher retention and acquisition is increasingly difficult. Do you think it's a function of our area, just the state of affairs in the nation? I mean, how important is this? And to the degree that it's a challenge, what's the best way to retain and acquire new teachers to benefit our school system?
Well, Jerry, retaining teachers is difficult. I will say that I'm very proud that the Alleghany Highlands has a retention rate currently of 91% of retaining teachers. The the national average is between 84 to 76%. So we're well above that. We pay similar to other areas around us for teacher pay. We also have incentives for certain teachers for like special education, science, and there's some other things. We also have special incentives to try to bring in more teachers. But also we feel that one of the struggles we do have here in the Highlands is housing for new teachers, people that are not originally from here. And we're really hoping that the new housing at the YMCA will help with this.
Oh, that's odd. We were just having a discussion about that about 20 minutes ago, so that's very timely. And John, there's a question. This is probably more dear to your heart too. That with respect to students with disabilities, how does a school board or a school board member keep this aspect of education as part of the regular conversation instead of, in the old days when I went to school, some of the students with disabilities were just shunned aside. And now there's more concern that, hey, they need to be at the forefront of discussion, or at least, let's have some equality here. How do you think that needs to be addressed?
Well, Jerry, first off, I'm very proud to say that Virginia is an inclusion state. So every child has the right to be in any public setting as far as the other children. That can be written up into an IEP. Now, I will say with having a nonverbal autistic son myself, that not always is that the best atmosphere. Now, it is statistically shown that and one reason we have the IPOP program is because there's an even number of typical kids and non-typical kids. And statistics show that children a lot of times will learn just as well or better from their peers as they do from a teacher. So a lot of times when a child is included into the regular classroom, they will excel. But then too, every child is different. As for example, my son, distractions were very strong for him in the normal classroom setting. He did excel in a lot of things, but sometimes the distractions were some. So a lot of times pulling out for him to have a one-on-one setting is good for him to be able to learn some of those skills, but it's also very good to be included with everything you have.
Sounds like we need an individual, examination of each case, which makes sense.
Every child is different. We have to treat each child as their own case, just like when we were talking about the rescheduling at the middle school. It's not that we just have to move these classes and move these classes. Well, we have to look at each child and what their schedule is like and how we're going to move forward with it so that it works for each child very well. Same thing with disabilities. Every child's different. Just because one thing worked with one child doesn't mean it'll work with another.
Well, these are very wise statements. And of course, we've watched you over the course of the last several years, and we've enjoyed the interaction. And in fact, I told wife Judy, once we start covering the school board and run into characters like John Littleton and Jacob Wright and these guys, we're going to be challenged as never before. And so it's been enlightening in many respects. And of course, your participation along the way has been very enjoyable. But now we have the 64 $1,000 question, one you didn't expect. Why should members of the Alleghany County community elect John Littleton to the school board?
I believe I should be elected for that. I'm doing this for the children. Um, I'm doing it so that the kids have a voice. Honestly, I don't like the interviews like this, Jerry. I don't that kind of thing. I'm not that kind of a person, but I do really enjoy the trying to help our kids and putting them first, getting them what they deserve. That's why I've also, too, Jerry, got onto the State Special Education Advisory Committee, which is a advisory committee to the Department of Education in Richmond, which we meet quarterly. Actually, I have a meeting at the end of this week there with them to try to develop how we can serve our special needs students better.
And finally, John, before we let you go, is there anything as a that you have learned being a school board member? Is there anything that totally surprised you? I know this isn't in the question list, but this isn't Jerry's question list. I know you're not too crazy about these interviews, but when you sit as one of 7, I mean, you must see a whole bunch of things that are either not made public or things that are surprising. Is there any one thing that you said, whoa, I didn't know anything about this, or I know you've been a part of capital improvement projects, which is it's huge, the long-term effect. But was there anything that really surprised you?
No, Jerry's not a whole lot. Like I said, I've came from a whole family of educators, so it's kind of been a part of my life for a long time. I've just never been on the forefront, and I've never been really someone I thought that would be a politician or a public speaker. But I try my best, and I got into this for the kids and for my son and for every other child out there, and I really do enjoy trying to help them.
Well, we caught you on a fine Tuesday morning. Thanks very much for taking the time. We will see you at a school board forum coming up. And really, thanks again for your time and sharing your views with the public.
Thank you, Jerry.